Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum to everybody who's actually tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a dedicated transmission of PTV World on World this morning, where on the occasion of Kashmir Solidarity Day, 5th of February, Pakistan stands tall in solidarity with the Kashmiri brethren. I happen to be Shahzad Khan, and with me I'm really lucky that I've been joined by Miss Hajra Satti. Assalamu alaikum Hajra, how are you feeling today?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much for introducing me and starting the transmission with what Shahzad alluded to is the Kashmir Solidarity Day that is being observed today at 5th of February 2025. So President Asif Ali Zardari and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has urged upon the international community to put pressure on India to allow the Kashmiri people to freely determine their own future for the lasting peace in South Asia. In his message on Kashmir Solidarity Day, President Asif Ali Zardari has said this day reminds the international community of its responsibility towards the oppressed Kashmiri people, and added that the United Nations should honor the promises made to the Kashmir 78 years ago and support their struggle for their right to self-determination. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif in his message said the right to self-determination is a fundamental principle of international law, but Kashmiri people have not been able to exercise this right even after the passage of last 78 years, and added that Pakistan will continue to offer its unwavering moral and diplomatic support.
Exactly, and Hajra, in addition to this, I believe that, because of this dedicated transmission, and not just on this day, I think every single day people of Pakistan are praying for the brothers of, or the brethren of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir as well. So I just wanted to kind of highlight a few figures, because now imagine that India has actually almost killed 0.5 million Kashmiris in occupied Kashmir in the past 76 years. In the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, Indian forces have killed 500,000 Kashmiris, including over 250,000 in Jammu region, as the occupied territory completed 76 years of invasion by the Indian Army on this day in 1947. A report released by Kashmir Media Service on Friday actually said that more than 3.5 million Kashmiris were forced to migrate to Azad Jammu and Kashmir, Pakistan and other parts of the world since October 27, 1947. According to the data released by Research Section of Kashmir Media Service from January 1989 till October 27, 2023, a total of 90,262 people were killed, 7,316 killed in custodian fake encounters, 567 civilians were arrested as well. We have a report by Sajeel, Dogar. I would want each and every one of you to please take a closer look and listen carefully as to what sort of atrocities have taken place in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir.
Today, as Pakistan and the world observe Kashmir Day, we highlight the decades-long suffering of the Kashmiri people under Indian occupation. Once a land of breathtaking beauty, it now echoes with cries for freedom and justice. Pakistan stands with you. Inshallah, freedom will come.
Right, and as the report said that Pakistani people, Pakistani government, Pakistani state will always support diplomatically, politically and in a moral support to their Kashmiri brethren who are suffering under the yoke of illegally occupied Indian Jammu and Kashmir. So ISPR has released a new anthem marking Kashmir Solidarity Day. The ISPR has released a new anthem titled Kashmir Banega Pakistan on this occasion of Kashmir Solidarity Day, which is observed annually on 5th February to show support for the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The song, which conveys a strong message of unity and commitment to Kashmiri cause, features the vocals of renowned singer Ahmad Janzeb. The music was composed by Irfan Salim and Kamran Khan, with the lyrics written by Imran Raza. The anthem was specifically created to mark this significant day and reinforces the sentiment of solidarity with the brave and the resilient people of Kashmir. Right, and like this song captures the captive sentiments of the Kashmiri people. So in order to unfold the conversation centered around the Kashmir and how we Pakistanis can help further the cause of the oppressed people of Jammu and Kashmir, we are very glad that we have been joined by the Parliamentary Secretary for Information and Broadcasting. We are very glad that we have been joined by Barrister Danyal Chaudhary Saab. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure, sir, having you on the show, since you're a barrister and you know that today happens to be 5th of February, Kashmir Solidarity Day. How can we incorporate the language of human rights to further this cause and make sure that the people are not suffering under the Indian illegally occupied Jammu?
See, it's very unfortunate that it's been decades that people of Kashmir are suffering from what they are, and the genocide that has been going on, and mass murders, and what has been happening to the children, the use of the pellet guns, where over 200,000 people have lost their sight, and much more. The brutality does not stop there, and as we get into the new era, as a new year, where we speak about human rights, we speak about the basic rights of people and how people should be allowed to, we talk about freedom of speech and like a lot of other things, but the Kashmiris still today, they lack the most, the right to live. True. Even, when they're not allowed to, they send their kids to school and they're not sure if they'll be back to their houses or not.
Yes.
They send their daughters outside, they do not know if they'll be raped or not. And this is the reality where they're living in. For a lot of people, it might be on just alphabetical things on television, but in reality it is very unfortunate, and we've seen it very closely. We've seen it with people. I've interviewed people myself, I've met people on the border myself, and it is so sad that they have no voice. And till today, Indian, how they're trying to occupy it by sending their own forces, army personnel there, and where they're trying to finish or sentence all the youth, especially that is there in Kashmir, so they can fully occupy what has been there with them for years now. So I think the world should also realize and speak up for this. It is unfortunate, be it Gaza, be it Kashmir or other places, when it comes to the Muslim world, the world stays quiet.
True.
And then it's unfortunate and sad that if they do not speak for them, then those people themselves will take things in their hands.
And it's more of an atrocity anyways as well, I think, from the rest of the world as well, not just talking about the BJP-led Indian government. And while we are at it, and before I actually move on to kind of ask you about the Pakistan's government resolve and the Pakistani resolve, I just wanted to clear the air as well, because the BJP-led Indian government's claim of restoring normalcy in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and the revocation of Article 370 in 2019 is contradicted by disturbing statistics of human rights abuses. Now, because, my worthy colleague actually, kind of pointed the discussion towards the human rights violations, according to data compiled by Kashmir Media Service, 955 Kashmiris have been killed since 2019. Including 18 women, 31 teenagers. Custodial killings and fake encounters account for 251 deaths. 2,480 individuals have been tortured or critically injured. Over 25,591 arrests have been made, and 1,127 properties, including houses and shops, have been set on fire. Now, in addition to this, when we speak about these human rights violations, and you yourself being a barrister as well, how do you see that the world needs to come together, because it's been years and decades that they've been living in atrocities and misery?
There's an article I read a few years back that every procession that happens in Kashmir, every procession, over 6 to 8 people are killed. So, and in last 3 years, almost in every procession, 10 to 15 people have been blinded by the pellet bullets that are used to. So, the human value to Indian occupied Kashmir, and especially with the Indian army, does not exist. Those people are just numbers and figures. And it is unfortunate that as we get into this world where we talk about economics, we talk about the world, we talk about how the world has to go forward, we talk about peace and harmony, we miss out the entire episode of Kashmir. And if we do not, I think it will have its own repercussions. And now the repercussions will not only be faced by the Indians, but the entire world. Because you see that if you do not speak for against evil, if you do not stop evil, then automatically that lava builds up and it comes out. So I think in the world we're trying to create, where we talk about peace, we talk about harmony, we talk about the world getting together. I think Kashmir is one of the most important countries in the world where the genocide has been happening for decades now.
But Barrister Saab, we have seen there's a complete saffronization of Kashmiri identity that is going on in Indian illegally occupied Kashmir. Their language has been replaced. I mean, Urdu was the center of the language, but now it has been replaced with the Hindi language. Now that there is a fair and ban, they are not allowed to dress in their Kashmiri way. So, and we see in Gaza there was a genocide unfolding, but there was a lot of momentum, a narrative. There was a very strong boycott movement going on. Why do you think Kashmiris were also suffering the same amount of the genocide? We are unable to tilt the narrative in their favor. What more we can do to make sure that there's a greater mobilization in the favor of the Kashmiris of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir?
See, as Pakistanis, Kashmir lives in our hearts. There has been no international event that we've attended where we don't initiate the argument with Kashmir. We start the topic and debate with Kashmir, and that's how we take it forward, and we make sure. But how in recent months and years the Modi's government, the fascist government, I'd say, who has changed the status of Kashmir, has put boycott on people like getting together on normal gatherings. They've imposed bans on wearing culture dresses. They've imposed ban on any culture festivals. These things are all there because they want to finish the existence or true existence of Kashmir, and that is what is being done. But it is unfortunate, but Pakistan stands with Kashmir. We stand firm with our Kashmiri brothers. We're with them hand in hand, and every opportunity or every platform we get, we will keep on highlighting it.
Exactly, and that's exactly what we would want to kind of share with our audiences in 46 different countries today as well, because we've always seen how the Premier of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan on every platform, and each and every Pakistani will always make sure that they're going to raise their concerns about the brethren Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. But now if we are to speak about it, or the resolve of the Pakistani government with perspective or in perspective of the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir brethren, how do we see things changing? Do you think that that there'll be more conversations about it, there'll be more organizations put into place to make sure that we raise our concerns about our Kashmiri brethren?
See, as I said earlier, that whatever platform we get, we make sure that we start and we speak about it. But the people who are dealing on the other side, they, like I said before, that these people do not matter. Yep. For them, these are just figures, and especially Modi government, who has been such a fascist government against, we've seen how they've sentenced people in Kashmir. We've seen that over 8 to 9 people recently have been imprisoned for life over things alleged that were not even true. Everyone who speaks or speaks for Kashmir, and especially the youngsters or the youth, that is either behind jails in India or they're facing different kind of trials.
Exactly.
And are usually picked up or killed. So this is the reality, but it is unfortunate that I see that the Pakistan Army, our law enforcing agencies, Pakistan's political government, the Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif, we've made sure that every platform we get, we highlight it, and we'll continue highlighting it, and we'll try the world to awaken, and for them to see that how important it is that when your kids are sleeping in warm rooms, those kids are sleeping in places where there is no shelter, in temperature where there is chilling cold. Absolutely. Where their kids are getting nourished food, the kids in Kashmir are getting pellet bullets, where they're losing their eyes. And there's a figure that says over 1,000 in last just few years kids or people or elderly people have lost their sight because of it.
Absolutely. And Barrister Sahab, we've talked about how they're suffering under the yoke of Indian occupation, but I also want to eulogize the bravery of the Kashmiri people who are resisting this occupation, this settler colonial occupation in their own way. So we've seen reports how despite the curfew and a very stringent sort of the curfew, they're already walking in the streets. So they are taking walking as a form of the empowerment or their right to self-determination. And we have seen that a couple of years back there was a massive firework celebrating Pakistan's Independence Day on 14th of August. I mean, that was a massive amount of display of resisting that. Barrister Sahab, so now we've seen that there's an activism going on, the Azadi activism by the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Do you feel that this social movement of Azadi activism is resisting the settler colonial yokes of the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir?
See, no movement in the world has ever gone in waste. They all have their own repercussions, they have their own impact, and that will make an impact, and it has been making an impact till now. And we make sure, and especially a country like Pakistan, who's always spoken for Kashmir and their Kashmiri brothers. I always tell the people who we speak from across the border in Kashmir that in our every event we celebrate in Pakistan, the second flag is of Kashmir.
Yep.
And the Kashmir flag is in our hearts, and we believe that eventually that the only way forward is to give them the right, give them the freedom that they deserve, give them the freedom to live. The entire 2 generations have suffered this genocide, this mass killing, and it is very unfortunate that the newborns and the kids who are born today will be facing the same things. And as Pakistanis all over the world, and the Kashmiri community itself, which is based in England, another country part of the world, they do their processions on this day just for the world to awaken and see the brutality that is being done there.
Exactly. And one more thing, Danyal sir, because you have a very lucrative political career of yours as well. You happen to be the Parliamentary Secretary for Information and Broadcasting, and there's one area which I would always want to touch upon as a broadcast journalist myself, and that is that we do believe that that our media, if they unite, maybe the private or the public participation, that we can certainly do a lot more than what we have done already. What is your take on this, first of all, and how do you direct it to be that, okay, I think that we really need to work on this area and do better?
See, when you say that our media needs to do more than what is being done, we don't have to awaken the people of Pakistan.
Yep.
See, our media would actually target the audience of the country. I don't know even a smallest or a youngest child who would not support the Kashmir cause.
True.
The world has to be awakened, and there has to be more investment on the world for them to see what is being done. Because see, India today, no doubt, the amount of money that is being spent in Kashmir, the amount of soldiers that are there, that they, had it been on them, they would have even occupied the Kashmir that exists with us today. And the only thing between them is our army, and that keeps us safe.
True.
So I think that what we need to do is invest on international media, hire lobbyist firms that should speak for the right of Kashmir, that Pakistan has been doing for almost decades. But then again, we are a growing economy, we struggle ourselves, it is a very difficult task, but we make sure that it has come to a point where we start our issue, and the hosts have started saying that we can put the Kashmir agenda at the end rather than start. But we make sure as Pakistani government that we've always spoken for Kashmir, and we'll make sure that we keep on speaking for Kashmir till the time it gets its independence and the people get their rights.
And inshallah we will always as well, and where you actually mentioned that that India might have come towards the Azad Jammu and Kashmir as well, and certainly our armed forces as well. We pay rich tribute to each and every individual of our armed forces. We took Kashmir Premier League, which took place for 2 consecutive years over there. I was there myself, alhamdulillah, and the people of Azad Jammu and Kashmir speak volume about the kind of lifestyle that they enjoy over here. And we certainly pray that inshallah that day is actually close, where the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir will certainly be living the same life. But while we are at it, obviously you belong from a very political background, alhamdulillah, and because I belong to the same constituency myself, and so I
Practically neighbors.
Yeah, practically neighbors. So this is exactly what I would want. Now imagine that that there are thousands of people who are actually banking on you. You contested in the elections in 2019 as well, and now alhamdulillah being in the National Assembly. How do you take that responsibility onto yourself, representing the voice of hundreds and thousands of people, looking after them?
See, yes, I contested in 2018 as well, and where I took about 1,17,000 votes. I won that election for about more than 30. In fact, 39,000 votes. It's no doubt it's a difficult task. See, it is unfortunate that the mindset or the people in our country, they believe in short terms. They believe in short gains. And it's a very difficult constituency because my father has worked in this constituency for almost 4 decades. My family,
well.
Yes,
he's a household name.
So yes, so back then the things were very different. You would induct people for different jobs. You would help them. It was more of a the system was such that you'd help girls get into good colleges. You'd get them, like I know so many police officers, bureaucrats who'd helped my father, and as families they've grown up together. But now the politics, the dynamics have changed. Especially the polarization of recent years, the abuse, the white and black, that politics always had a grey line, where you would have your opinion and I would have mine. True. And we'd agree to disagree, but on a different note, for the longest period I supported something else than my father, my entire house did. And we saw the reality, and when we got to know how the real things are, and then I think we got awakened up, the woken call, whatever you call it, that too. But see, the most difficult thing in politics today is acceptability, acceptability of different views. That is very important for someone like me. I always try to guide our supporters, our voters also, that see, you need to adopt to things, and things have to go forward with consensus, and that's how things should go
and
forward.
Diplomacy as well.
Yes, diplomacy, and there is no right or wrong. There is no white or black. It is the country first, and we have to serve the country. We're doing this politics, or we're in it, so we can serve it, and we can make a change, and we can bring something better for it.
And that's exactly what is required as well. So one last question towards the end, and that is that where you said that there's no black and white, there's more grey as well. There needs to be diplomacy. Do you think that narrative building is one of those things that probably other political parties have been at the forefront of, and that we, as representatives of probably Pakistan Muslim League Noon, needs to do it better?
See, when I was a child, when I was young, so the best kid of the class, his name was Osama. Back then, he's passed away now. But so he was the best kid, in marks and everything. But he was a backbencher. He'd stay quiet. And a few of them, like me, we were very vocal. We were very good in debates and all. And we were not very bright, but we were right in front. We were always more prominent. But the one who was doing the work was always the quiet one. See, today in Pakistan, there is no political party that can do a comparative analysis on performance. We're the only party that has gathered people on performance for years again and again. You go to KP, you go to Kashmir, or you go to Karachi, you go to Balochistan,
come from Karachi to north.
You'll see the reality that people are facing. Today, all are the political parties that are against us. They gather their strength by hate. They get their voters on the principle of hate that Mussolini did as well. That was done by Nazis as well. Yes, but that is not how leaders work. You need to tell them that you need to tell them the first important thing is nationalism, the nation, the country, and that's how political parties. You can't say कि हम कफन बांध कर आपके बच्चों को निकालेंगे, whereas your own kids are eating McDonald's and KFC. You need to give them the pen rather than a bullet.
And that's a wonderful message. Thank you so
action
much.
Action speaks louder than words.
Exactly, and I think one thing that we need to deduce from what Barrister Saab has mentioned here is that we need to work for our national interest more than our personal interest. And I think if we learn this lesson well, I think we can prosper by the leaps and bounds. Thank you so much, Barrister Danyal Saab, for coming here, for showing solidarity with our Kashmiri brethren. We're going on a short break, and after we come back, we will unfold the conversation again on the topic of Kashmir Solidarity Day. Don't go anywhere. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome back, and we had an interesting discussion unfolding on the Kashmir Solidarity Day. So in order to further explore this conversation and hinge the conversation around the Kashmir settler colonialism of the India, we are very glad that we have been joined by Dr. Waqas Ali Kasoor. He happens to be the Kashmir affairs expert. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Saab, and thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
So, Dr. Saab, it is said that the settler sovereignty is uniquely destructive of the indigenous rights, right? And we have seen what is unfolding in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. It is very much settler colonialism like what Israel is doing in Gaza. If we see and compare and contrast two situations, why do you feel that we are unable to capitalize the momentum on the Kashmir like the world is in favor of Gaza right now?
See, thank you first of all for having me on your show. I guess once we draw the parallels between Gaza and Kashmir, we need to be mindful of two important things. One, I mean, of course, there are the historical similarities, but they are operating in different contexts. When it comes to Kashmir particularly, there is always a very different context, and of course, a very strong indigenous movement that Kashmiris, kept on doing from 47 and onwards. I would like to say a few things. I mean, there is also, there is a consensus that what occupational forces in Kashmir have been doing that is similar to what they have been doing in Gaza, particularly after the doing away of 370 and 35A. If you observe, there are two fundamental things. One is that how you can destabilize the socio-economic and political fabric of the Kashmiri society. Yep. That has happened. One. India brought, of course, these changes and then introduced a number of laws. Particularly, there have been huge concerns on the demographic changes that have been geared there. One. Secondly, of course, once you are done away with 370 and 35A, you are not only destabilizing the region, but you are also economically disempower people, because the Kashmiris having their own state subject from the Maharaja rule, you deny them, and that gives them certain privileges of jobs, of education and other local benefits, and that have been done away with. And then of course you open up the spaces for the people from outside state subjects. And that has been happening in Kashmir.
And what we see in the form of the very saffronization of the Kashmiri identity that has been going on.
If on saffronization, I would like to say one thing. I mean, the doing away with 370 and 35A, this has been long on the agenda of the BJP.
Absolutely.
So BJP has that exclusive politics and divisive tactics to do. I mean, within India, if you see that the communities are daggers drawn. What happens in Kashmir is that Kashmir is a multi-ethnic diverse society. Once you operate in that on that lines and on these lines, the fundamental problems that arise is that you not only create a chaos within society, but you also pitch communities against each other. That happened in Kashmir. I mean, Kashmir's harmony, tolerance and all these things within society have been compromised because of the nature of the politics. If you see that they have done the delimitation and pitching communities against each other, favoring one community based on the religion and depriving other based on the religion.
But Dr. Saab, there is a very concerted effort going on in which Kashmiris are expelled from their own land. So if you see that there are army cantonments which are built there, right? Lot of ex-army officers, the retired army officers, they are being settled there. They are being given land there, right? And we've also seen that the economic blockade is that happening. And apart from that, there is a digital apartheid that is going on. We often see that there is an internet shutdown, a blackout, and we cannot see the information going out. In the entire scenario, how do you think we can use more innovative ways to highlight the very indigenous struggle that is going on, the Azadi activism that we see which is going on, and how people are resisting there? What sort of new methods as a state, as someone who are very much supportive of their struggle, how can we do that?
And why are they even diluting the, Kashmiri population?
See, the fundamental is that the very edifice of that struggle is built on the narrative of self-determination. And Kashmiris draw the passion of resistance from their identity particularly, I must say. So identity is, of course, it's a very multifaceted thing, but it is on their larger society and the values they, they get from their own society. So I guess the analysis of the occupational forces is that until unless you are not done away with the identity thing, you don't challenge them and you don't create a parallel identities or multiple identities, it would be difficult to counter that. I must say that violence is the last resort a state goes when against, occupational forces, when they come resort to the violence, particularly in the context of Kashmir, it means you don't have a political answer of a political question, and that is there in Kashmir, if you see that.
Right.
But on the, sorry, on the bringing in, new methods, and I guess, see, the downside of Kashmir is, sorry, just want to quickly say, the downside of Kashmir is that, of the struggle is that the pain and the sufferings of the Kashmiris particularly, we were unable to tell to the world. The story of Kashmir is untold, particularly what happened.
I think there's a fatigue that has set in, right? People really do not want to listen to that. And also, where do you think we are lacking as a state? What are the gaps? Because the grandson of Maharaja said in the Indian Parliament as a senator that my grandfather never signed the accession treaty. He just signed the defense pact, and that too for the 20 years. And I think we never took that opportunity to capitalize on that. This is what is happening there. And Indian state is deliberately trying to delay that plebiscite. Obviously, it's very clear, but we did not galvanize on that momentum, right? Wasn't that a mistake?
See, the nature of this conflict, the disputed nature, with the Article 370 and 35 and in the past as well, the idea of the occupational forces actually is to, to challenge the nature of this dispute, particularly to sort of mainstream and bring the normalcy. That's what the BJP has been saying. I guess it doesn't change the nature of its disputed territory, the United Nations Security Council resolutions and the other international mechanisms, and particularly the dialogues between India and Pakistan, an agreement like Shimla and others. This is a very much clear evidence that there is a dispute. This is a disputed territory. You can't change the landscape of it. India brought Supreme Court decision over there, which was very biased. Indian political parties, tried to sort of challenge BJP, but in reality, they couldn't do anything for the Kashmiris. So when it comes to the occupational forces, I must say that the reality, the context, the very nature of the conflict remains same. So I guess it has further complicated over the period of time. Now, there is a downside of it. I wanted to say again that there are two aspects of it. Of course, there is a political aspect of this conflict, but also there is a human aspect of this conflict. Kashmiris have suffered enormously. The way the entire fabric of the society, political leadership has been, put behind the bars. Or gender, particularly if you see, they have suffered. We have seen the children. The way we had the pellet victims. This is awful. We need to see that how even the international bodies, Human Rights Council and other have been reporting all these things. Now, the era which we are living in, the problem with this era is that democracy, human rights, liberal values, are not taking the center stage. It's the state with the more economic power and the interest, they are taking the center stage.
Right.
But I don't think this is feasible and sustainable living in the world where you see that multilateralism and the global institutions, if you value them, even in the case of the Gaza, if you have seen that, there's a huge resistance from the civil society across the world that if you want to sustain this global order and the liberal values, you have to stand with the justice. You have to stand with the values of human rights and democracy, and that's what is happening. And in the case of Kashmir, I guess one has to be mindful of that. The resistance of Kashmiris is there. They are there for the just and fundamental rights. And it's not for the Pakistanis only to stand and observe the 5th of February for the Kashmiris. It's for the entire world, because this day is to commemorate and to show the solidarity with the just values of democracy, just values of human rights, and of course, fundamental right of self-determination, which is there in the United Nations for the nations as well.
Thank you so much for wrapping it up beautifully. well
Thank
as
you
well.
so
Thank you
much.
so much for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation
Thank
with
you
you.
so
Thank you very much.
And for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, day in, day out, may it be the Pakistani people, may it be the government order of Pakistan, may it be the armed forces of Pakistan, we stand tall in solidarity with the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and we will continue to do so till the last breath. Until next time, look after yourselves. Stay tuned to PT World for a dedicated day transmission on the Kashmir Solidarity Day.
Allah Hafiz.